Hi, this is Suzanne in Ohio. Hey, I'm here today with some fabric arts. Um, Actually, probably I should say fabric collage and a lot of slow stitch. As I've mentioned in some other videos, I've been living in with my sister since the beginning of June, and I only brought with me a few things to work on while I'm here. And um, some of my fabric scraps is one thing that I did bring. So what I made in the first couple weeks here was just some journal covers. So I want to share those with you. They're all fabric, soft, even though they have some pellon in them for stability. And they are blank journal covers. Now you could use them for some other things if you want to, but I made them sort of with journals in mind. I do have some paper products here that I could put some signatures in, but I thought, well, I don't know. I'll just put them on my Etsy site and see if anybody's interested in putting your own signatures in. So the first one is a vintage print, printed off on fabric, and then everything on these is doctored up with lace and textiles and fibers and dyed things and anything that I had around. So here's the inside. This one does not have a pocket, and just to keep it together, I did this slow stitch here, not knowing where someone would want to stitch their signature in. So I just want to show you the construction of these. They are quite charming. This is an old vintage textile, and there's a name for this kind of fabric, but I can't think of it right now. And you can see all this slow stitch on here. Now these fiber scraps, some eyelash yarn, pieces of fabric, old lace, lace that tablecloth lace that I have dyed, and then this was a bird feather that I had painted, and I stitched it on there because it so matched these birds. These are rufous-sided towhees and just charming. All right, so there's the first one, and they're all different sizes. And so this is a large one, and in that case, I should have thought this through. Let me back you out a little bit so you can see the totality of the whole thing. I had some applique with free motion, these little applique things I made, and I had done the embroidery and I was just keeping them for another project which never happened. So I added some interest to it, doctored it up, and it is just so delightful. This would be an oversized journal, larger than a half a sheet of paper, but what is excellent for this is if you have any of the, are they 11 by 14 pages and pieces, and then to make an art journal or a writing journal, it would just work out beautiful. And the inside is quite bold, and the bottom is a pocket. So there's that one. These are in no given order here. I should get all the large ones done first, so I don't have to keep changing this. Okay. Oh boy, this one was fun. In our area, we have a large Amish and Mennonite community, and I went to one of their what they call relief sales a couple years ago, and I picked up a lot of textiles that were unfinished projects for them. And I got several of these, what obviously was going to be a Dresden plate quilt, and it didn't have a center to it, but it had all of these 1920s, 30s, 40s fabrics, and I have used them for other projects, and I just love this thing. Now it's mounted on some old dresser scarf type textiles. You can see the edgings here from the original. Here's the original crocheted edge on both of those, and a piece of an original embroidery off of a scarf, and I put a little bee on there. And then, oh, recently I found this. Well, my sister found it while we were in the shop, and she bought a piece, and I did too. But it's a chicken wire print on this beautiful green, perfect color. So I imagined that this was a sunflower and these were sunflower leaves. And you can see all the slow stitching that I've put on here. And what that does is that kind of is like a type of quilting. And where that shows up, I have dimple quilted the entire thing. It's really beautiful. It would last for years, even with some heavy use. The inside is pretty plain, double pocket, just delightful for someone that would appreciate vintage. So I had fun doing that one. And this one is a rescued textile from the thrift store. Somebody did this crewel work, and the pansies were beautiful. And they were such a strong color that I went ahead and complemented it with more strong colors. I just have all of these three laces that I had hand dyed and just applied other things on it to give it some interest. This is a beautiful piece of Moda quilting fabric right there. And on the inside, very simple, but I wanted to keep up that bee thing right there since I had one here. So I put a little piece of that fiber inside for interest. This one is hand appliqued. You know, I just realized that I do not have my light turned around. I'm so sorry. These are hand appliqued, a needle turn. No, wait, I did a raw edge on part of it, needle turn on the other part. But to replicate watermelons, and I did what's called this twist and put that on as a vine, and every so often just tied a knot on it, and that forms your leaves. Now the background is again vintage textiles, old dresser scarf right here, tablecloth lace, something there, and here's the original crocheted edges to a beautiful old dresser scarf. So it's really interesting. And inside it does have a double pocket. And again, this one is a little bit oversized. I hope you all have done some fabric collage and slow stitch and everything. It is so relaxing and so neat when you get done. Has a look all about it that done on the sewing machine, it just can't. It's not the same. Both have their place and both are charming, but I don't know. Just the hand stitching, what it does to the fabrics, it kind of puckers it a little bit like quilting. Just really nice. Now this is a Susan Wingett art drawing that's off of some fabric I had of hers, and I embedded it on a collage of scraps, and all around the edge is rescued lace and things like that. Inside, double pocket. Oh, I see I left a straight pin there, but I'm glad I did that. Right, that's kind of a traveler's notebook size right there. All the dimensions for these are, I think they're on my Etsy site. If they're not, I sure will get them done. Now I have a lot of art pieces kind of put back that I had painted a couple years ago, and I just wanted to put them to some good use. So I hand drew this butterfly with a micron pen and filled it in with acrylic paint. And it was a little fabric collage all by itself from here to here and here to here. And I found a nice piece, some scraps that lended themselves to the colorway. So I mounted it on those. All these are raw edge and hand stitched down. And then this little puffy that I added to the front, that was um, an original watercolor I had done, and I shrunk it down and printed it off on fabric. A lot of those things I created to add to my journals. A nice feather inside, feather print, I should say, inside. Okay, now another bird. Um, and this journal cover is made a little bit different. This is another vintage bird print, and again, I had a bird feather that I had painted perfect color, so your brain imagines that that feather came from that bird. A couple little trinkets sewn on here, and just a lot of dyed and rescued lace and fabric swatches, and nurture, and because she's obviously raising babies. This one opens up to the back. You can see that I have all this slow stitch, but the background is different pieces of muslin and natural colored scraps. Well, here's the uniqueness about this one. I make several journal covers like this because I myself love it. I put an extra little portion on there, and after your signature is sewn in, you fold that over. It keeps the edges of your pages nice and nothing falls out. Now, of course, you can tie these up with anything you want. This has a double pocket here and a side pocket there where you can slip some pencils or pens in, whatever you're using in your journal. This is a nice one because this is an original fabric art print. I did the fabric art, copied it off, printed it on fabric, and I had a wonderful piece of background fabric that I had hand dyed with alcohol ink. And I had these ivy leaf appliques that I had made using a technique with that Steam light, which is an adhesive. So all of these are stitched down, and I just happen to have some green fabric covered wire. So I twisted that on there as if the ivy is vining, and it's stitched down and it won't come off. So that is a beautiful composition there. And again, this one has that flap. So a pocket here and then a double pocket here. So fold it over, fold it up, and then put a tie on it if you want to. Okay, this one's kind of different. Because most of my fabrics are in storage, I went to the thrift store and I found a packet of small pieces that were in a bag. I bought the whole bag, and here it was a collection of flannels in winter theme. And I just used those scraps. Somebody had cut it out for a quilt, obviously never did it, but I put it together. And the colors all lend themselves to winter. And I had some green dyed wool and stitched these pine trees on here. On the inside, again, a collection of all those flannels that I found in that bag. This would make a wonderful December daily coming up to the holidays. It doesn't really say Christmas, but it's dark, it's winter, or I think it's wintry looking. So that's a possibility for someone. This was a print of rose-breasted grosbeak, and I had printed it off on dictionary edition. It was a double print on dictionary page, and I just wanted to use him up. So he was complemented by these laces, some old fabric textiles, the edgings there. Let's see what's on this side. Pretty plain, but the colors match, and a double pocket on the inside. Now, if you're interested in starting a fabric collage, I should never leave the screen blank. I've learned that. Boy, I should get my act together because YouTube doesn't seem to know what to do with that. I thought I would show you just what I've got lined up for my next stitchery. So hold on one second. All right, coming. All right, now I got something on the screen. I can take these away. So here's how I go about it. Now here's this bag of fabrics that I found at the thrift store. And I haven't even pre-looked in there to see if I can work something out here, but we're going to do it together. So the first thing I do is decide approximately how big I want this journal. And so what I did was take a full-size sheet of paper, and then I cut these just a little bit bigger because I like my journal covers to stick out beyond the pages. So what I have here, the first thing I have here is just a thin piece of, I'm going to say muslin, although I don't know what the heck it is because I found it at the thrift store too. I found quite the haul there the other day. Total about 8 yards of different lightweight cream colored things. I think this probably has a tiny bit of polyester in it, but it tore. I like to rip for raw edges. It tore just like cotton. Anyways, that's segue right there. All right, and then you can use quilt batting, but I like to use felt. It's cheap, it's readily available. I can find it at my thrift store, or it's always on the shelf at Walmart. And I like how it washes up. Now, not real felt, because that's wool and that will shrink, but polyester kind of felt. Even you might think of it as craft felt. I don't know. Now, I said a minute ago, I have lots of little art pieces that I've done, and I want to use them up. So I found this little bird and one other one, which I will show you in a minute. So what my goal is to find something, some way to incorporate this. And because he is long ways this way, I can crowd him onto one side or I can turn him. So let's think about it for a minute. For right now, let's just look at colors. So I did glance through the flannels, and this little piece of flannel, it wasn't bad. And this one is a soft beige. And I thought, well, take them out and just set them aside for a minute. But here's this bag of all these pieces of fabric. I think this entire bag plus more, I think I paid $3. So well worth it. Now what we're doing right this second is just looking at color. Let's just look at color. Would that go? Yes. Would that go? Would that? Not so much, because this red would fight with the pink. So I'm going to lay that aside. This, really too strong, because the way this one is rendered, it almost denotes spring. It's light colors. It looks airy. So that's too strong. That's definitely too strong. That's maybe just to pick up the green, but not necessary. So I'm laying that aside. And this one, no. Too dark. More of this one. Would this green work? It could. So I'm going to lay it right here. Would this work? Yes, it would work, but I've used that a couple times and I'm tired of looking at it. Would this shamrock? Absolutely not. Would this little green? Yes. I like it better than this one, so I'm going to trade this out for this. And this is more of a modern, looks like modern slipcover curtains or something. I can't imagine somebody choosing that, but they did. And I don't really like it a lot, so I'm laying it aside. And dark red, these two shades of pink, possibly. So what I'll do is I'll lay that over there. Now this has some teal and dark green. I don't really have any teal in here, so I'm going to pass that up. More of that. And then this. Now, the only reason this might go is it's a darker version of this same color family, and there's a touch of it right there. So that could be a possibility. We've already got some of that laid out. That's too bright. This is a possibility as well, so I'm going to put that there. And this one is a possibility. But, and even this, these greens laying over here. But I don't need that much green. So which one do I like better, or which two do I like better? Why don't, for the sake of working it out, let's just stick with the two we've got. So I'm going to lay all this aside, and I'll just show you how I go about this. So I might lay something in the back and decide, okay, which one tends to bring out the bird better? Boy, that red does. Okay, so let me get a little pair of scissors because we'll be ripping. I like tearing, I like the raw edges. Yep. Okay. You can see there how that red kind of makes that bird, it pulls him out. Let's see if the green does the same thing. See, in my opinion, not as much. It's complementary, but it doesn't pull him out. I like the red, so I want to make sure and get some of these wine colors as they were around this. All right, I'm laying those over there for just a minute. Now, this little thing is finished on the back, even with a pocket. So what I can do is keep that in mind, and when I put it down, I will stitch around the sides, and it will still be, it'll be a hidden pocket type thing. So should I try to squeeze it onto just half? I think so, so that he's upright. So here's what I would do. I'm going to turn this so it's facing you. And the first thing we're going to do is just lay down some pieces of this fabric. Just going to lay them down. And I want them to stick out on the edge a little bit. Make sure I've got the right side, which I do. And I can do it this way. I want to be sure and overlap. Make sure I'm sticking out. So we'll just position them. And let's see. Let's do opposite. I'm checking my perimeters. And let's see what happens here. Those little wrinkles kind of bug me, but I'm going to put up with it for right now. Okay. Now, if I squeeze him on, he will come right to the edge. And that will work just fine. So let's see how we like that. Let's get some green. And what green do we want? Let's get a small piece of this. This picks up the dark green in that embroidery. And so what I'll do is, let's make this simple. And I'll tear enough. I love it when it shows the name and the date. So I'm just going to put a little slit here, and I'm going to rip it. And I don't really care if it's 100% perfect. Now, that textile word will show, so let's put it at the bottom where it'll be right side up. And because I'm just going to use this whole piece, I don't normally do stuff like that. I don't waste anything that's just valuable and kind of irreplaceable. Oh, I like that with just a little bit of that green showing right here where these two converge. And I'll do the same thing right there. Okay, and then Mr. Bird will be mounted right there. Now that's how I would start. I'd put some pins in it, and then I would get my little basket or container full of scraps, dyed, meaning lace and fibers and textiles, and see if I wanted to add to him. And so that's how I would begin. I would put my big pieces of lace on or whatever I'm going to enhance it with, but if you want to leave it plain, that's fine. It could be ribbon, it could be anything. And after everything's in place, put some pins. And when I start stitching, the first thing I start stitching is whatever is on the top, whatever is closest to me. And in this case, all we have laying down here right now is the bird. So I would start stitching around this bird. I call this little bird collage. And the reason is it's going to help stabilize these other pieces. And then what's the next thing closest to me? These. So then I would come back and stitch around these. Now I try not to go around the edge until the last thing, because I'm going to go around the whole edge, and that will capture all the loose corners. Let's pull that up to match the other one. So in this case, I would go around the edge of this, but I wouldn't worry about the green until I'm all done. All right, that's how I go about my fabric arts. And if you're interested in working on a fabric art collage with me, let me know in the comments. And if you like fabric art, leave me a thumbs up and we'll see if we can get back to you in the fabric line and get a project going. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.